The old man smashed the statue of the fire god in the temple with a hammer, but unexpectedly, he faced retribution the next second. He instantly felt unbearable pain in his legs, accompanied by an intense itch. However, what followed was even more terrifying. The old man's legs began to petrify at a visible speed, followed by his arms and even his internal organs, transforming into a stone statue before everyone's eyes in the blink of an eye. After receiving the report, the police immediately rushed to the fire god temple to assess the situation. Detective Qian Lauer was puzzled as to why a flesh and blood body would turn to stone. As a witness, Liu Li immediately stated that when the old man smashed the head of the fire god statue, she hurried over to stop him. I just hope the fire god blesses us every year, and you all will pick up the pieces sooner. But surprisingly, the old man not only showed no reverence for life, but also spoke rebellious words on the spot. What use is the fire god? Why wasn't I useful today? Why wasn't the rocket smoke useful? The old man ignored Liu Li's advice and swung a hammer to smash the fire god's head. Liu Li knelt to beg for the fire god's forgiveness. Even if you don't believe in ghosts, respect them. Thus, he faced misfortune. Detective Qian Lauer believed in divine retribution, so he picked up the hammer to see. Then, the old man's daughter arrived, and they took the statue to the police. This incident caused a stir in town, becoming a topic of conversation. It's ridiculous to say that people can turn into big stones. I don't believe it. As soon as he finished speaking, someone next to the old man exhibited the same symptoms. In unbearable pain, he immediately collapsed into a box. When the tea house owner approached, he discovered that the man had already begun to petrify, leaving him frozen in shock. Even more bizarrely, everyone else was no exception. The only difference was that they had not completely turned to stone, but had varying degrees of petrification. After the investigation, it was found that all these people were those who participated in the destruction of the statue that day, leaving both the police and the hospital bewildered. At that moment, a man in unbearable pain suddenly rolled off the bed. The nurse hurried over to help her up. However, the person clung tightly to the nurse and wouldn't let go. After the nurse managed to break free, she found that the person's symptoms had eased. But the bad news was that the nurse instantly exhibited the same symptoms. The director immediately realized that this strange illness could be contagious, so they rushed outside and isolated all the nurses who had come into contact with the patient inside. At that moment, the director discovered that the nurse next to him had also been infected, causing everyone to quickly draw their guns and aim at her. Just then, the patients locked inside suddenly burst through the door. One of the police officers, frightened, quickly fired 2 shots, instantly killing the patient who had run out. It was a dead end. The patients inside rushed out. In their desperation to alleviate their pain, they began spreading the virus to anyone they encountered in the hospital. In the blink of an eye, everyone in the hospital was infected, and the worthless Dean was no exception. Detective Qian Lauer followed Liu Li and the others into a sewer. Soon after, Liu Li seemed to signal something with the oil lamp in her hand, and a man in white arrived in a boat before them. After Liu Li communicated with the man in a language they couldn't understand, she boarded his